So something is starting to pick up here, and I don't like it. So I'm going to lay out. I'm going to let you and Nick do your thing. Nick's tweeting at the show.
I saw that.
I'm going to let you guys do your thing.
Yeah, well, Nick apparently agreed with me that nobody's really earned anything, which it's fine. I keep seeing a lot of people mention it's installs. Why would anybody forge ahead in the installs? It's like, well, you're discounting that the coaches might think somebody is ahead of the other guys based on...
What if I told you the biggest story coming out of Browns training camp isn't about who completed the deepest pass or who threw the prettiest touchdown? It's about everything else. Every meeting, every drill, every rep, every conversation after practice. Because while fans and reporters only see a small fraction of what's happening, the Browns coaching staff is evaluating every single detail, and that could determine who eventually becomes Cleveland's next starting quarterback. Let's talk about why training camp matters far more than people realize, and why Shedeur Sanders may be building a stronger case than many fans think. One of the biggest debates surrounding Browns camp has been whether it's too early to judge the quarterback competition. Some fans argue that the offensive installs aren't complete yet, so nothing should be taken seriously.
Everything. You're just seeing the throws. The coaches are in the meetings. The coaches have a lot more of the context, which is the buzzword everybody has to mention now. Oh, that needs context. That needs context. Well, you know who has all the context? The coaches. So the coaches are determining those things. And if your argument is nothing matters until installs are over, well, then I guess we shouldn't even have reporters there.
But that's exactly where the discussion becomes interesting. If nothing mattered until the final install was complete, then why have reporters covering practice every day? Why would coaches spend hours reviewing film from every session? Why would players compete for every rep? The reality is simple. Everything matters. The Browns coaching staff isn't just watching who throws the best deep ball. They're evaluating leadership, communication, decision-making, preparation, and consistency throughout the day, not just during the public portions of practice. One of the most important points from this discussion is perspective. Fans see highlights. Reporters see open practice.
Like, we shouldn't even talk about the Browns at all. We should just move on to other things. The fact is, everything matters. Everything that they do matters, and the coaches, the front office, everybody in the organization, they're taking inventory over everything, even how guys are in meeting rooms. You know, I thought it was funny. Forgot who it was. Somebody was talking about, yeah, it's nice to have a pass rusher not on their phones in the meetings. Okay. I mean, you don't think people are noticing stuff? Yes, everything matters, guys. Everything inside those walls matter, and sometimes things that happen outside those walls matter.
But coaches see everything. They're inside the meeting rooms. They're listening to how quarterbacks communicate in the huddle. They're watching how players respond after making mistakes. They're evaluating how quickly someone learns the playbook. They're paying attention to who stays after practice to get extra work in. Those are things that rarely show up on social media, but they can completely change how a coaching staff views a player. That's one reason Shedeur Sanders continues generating attention. It's not only about the passes he throws. It's about what happens after practice. Reports have highlighted Sanders putting in extra work with teammates once official practice ends. To casual fans, that may seem insignificant. To coaches?
Johnny Manziel, Josh Gordon. Like, yes, everything matters. When you are on the football team, the install dates matter. And guys, they're working on stuff, yes. But if you're telling me guys can't shine, if nothing matters, then what do we care about Denzel Boston? What do we care about Jared Verse? Stuff matters. You can't just, because every reporter comes on here and says, the quarterback play has looked bad. Well, what does it matter? It all matters. Yes, it all matters. That's part of football. That's why you have all these coaches making a lot of money.
Those habits matter. Building chemistry, learning timing, showing leadership, embracing extra preparation. Those are the traits teams want from a franchise quarterback. No single extra workout guarantees a starting job, but when coaches are evaluating 2 or 3 quarterbacks with similar physical talent, those small details can become deciding factors. At the same time, there's another reality Browns fans have to accept. Nationally, Cleveland's quarterback room isn't viewed among the league's best. In fact, many analysts consider it one of the NFL's weakest until somebody proves otherwise. That's not necessarily an insult. It's simply based on production. Potential is exciting. Projection is fun.
That are keeping tabs on everything they see. It's what they see after the meetings, too. That's why it's awesome that Shedeur Sanders is working with another quarterback after practice. Great. That matters. Yes, it all matters. To Nick's point that I guess he thinks everybody in the world is incapable of judging the Browns, but we can judge every other team. What is so hard about judging the Browns? The reality is the Browns were a terrible football team last year. They've been pretty bad most of the station's existence. They might have some really good young talent. Let's see how it plays out. Remember, this was supposed to be one of the worst drafts in a while. So let's see if that ends up being true.
But NFL teams earn respect by winning games. Until someone separates themselves during camp and eventually during the regular season, skepticism is going to remain. Here's where things get complicated. Many observers genuinely like Cleveland's young roster. They're exciting rookies. They're promising playmakers. Several young players have already flashed during camp. But football isn't basketball. One great rookie doesn't automatically transform a franchise. Quarterback remains the most important position in sports. You can have talented receivers. You can have explosive running backs. You can have an improved defense. If the quarterback situation isn't settled, winning consistently becomes incredibly difficult. That's why so much attention continues to focus on this competition.
Or the Browns have all these new playmakers, and let's see how it gels. Most young teams in the NFL don't win, but we have seen examples like the New England Patriots getting to the Super Bowl last year. Mm-hmm. It is considered by everybody. I'm sorry, guys. I know you don't like hearing this. Until proven otherwise, until some quarterbacks earn, not just being given credit because of dimes that we've seen in the most liberalist of sense that we're using that term now, it is a bottom 5 quarterback room until proven otherwise.
With the preseason approaching, every practice becomes more meaningful. Every throw gets analyzed. Every interception gets discussed. Every impressive drive creates excitement. That's simply life for NFL quarterbacks. Whether it's Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, or another quarterback competing for snaps, nobody is being evaluated on one spectacular throw. They're being judged on consistency. Can they command the offense? Can they avoid mistakes? Can they improve every day? That's what ultimately earns trust inside an NFL building. So while social media debates who threw the best pass at practice, the Browns coaching staff is evaluating something much bigger. They're deciding who prepares like a professional, who learns the fastest, who leads teammates, who earns trust, and sometimes
that's what everybody thinks about your team. And so, yes, most everybody is going to think your team is going to not have a lot of wins. Greg Rosenthal had all these good things to say about the Browns yesterday when he came on, and then he said, I'd take the under for the win total. So, yeah, that's kind of the conventional wisdom by most. I don't think it's a lack of critical thinking. I'm sorry. I don't think it's critical thinking when I hear Nick reference 30 players in Rocket Sanders and say they're all great.
I wouldn't hear this last week.
Those invisible moments matter even more than the highlights everyone posts online. Because championships aren't built only on Sundays. They're built during training camp. Now, while the quarterback competition has dominated every headline coming out of Browns training camp, there's another conversation happening that could ultimately define this franchise's future. It's about the coaching staff. It's about the front office. And it's about whether Cleveland is finally building something sustainable instead of chasing another quick fix. Because if the Browns are going to become contenders again, it won't happen because of one great training camp. It'll happen because the entire organization gets the big picture right. One of the biggest reasons Browns fans are excited is the arrival of offensive coordinator Todd Monken. There's no question Monken brings an impressive resume. He's respected around the league, known for creative offensive schemes, and has helped build explosive offenses throughout his career. But here's the important question. Should Browns fans expect him to wave a magic wand? Probably not. Some people have acted as if simply hiring Todd Monken automatically guarantees a better offense. History tells U.S. football doesn't work that way. Every new coordinator arrives with fresh ideas. Every coaching staff believes they have the answers. The challenge isn't drawing plays on a whiteboard. The challenge is getting players to execute them consistently on Sundays. That's why expectations should remain realistic. Monken may improve the offense, but he'll still need quarterback play, offensive line stability, and young players to develop quickly if Cleveland wants to compete. No matter how talented the coaching staff is, one truth never changes. Quarterback is the engine that drives an NFL franchise. The The Browns may have promising receivers. They may have exciting young defenders. They may have emerging playmakers throughout the roster. But until someone proves capable of leading the offense week after week, national expectations are going to remain low. That's not negativity. That's reality. It's why many analysts continue to project Cleveland near the bottom of the standings entering the season. Potential doesn't win games. Execution does. Despite the uncertainty, there's another side to this conversation that deserves attention. Many people inside and around the organization believe the Browns have quietly assembled a talented young core. Instead of relying on aging veterans, Cleveland is beginning to invest in players who could become long-term building blocks. That's exactly how successful franchises are rebuilt. You draft well. You develop young talent. You create depth. Then, once the quarterback position is solved, everything begins accelerating. That's why this season feels different. Even if the Browns don't win a lot of games immediately, they could still be laying the foundation for something much bigger. General Manager Andrew Berry has received both praise and criticism during his time in Cleveland. Some moves have worked, others haven't. But according to this discussion, the next quarterback decision may define his entire legacy. If the Browns identify the right franchise quarterback, whether that's already on the roster or someone they acquire in the future, the rebuild could accelerate quickly. If they miss again, everything becomes much more difficult. That's how important this position is. One decision can shape the direction of an entire organization for years. One of the boldest predictions from this conversation wasn't actually about this season. It was about the future. The belief is that by 2028, the Browns should be a playoff team. Not because success is guaranteed, but because that's how the NFL is designed. Teams that accumulate young talent, draft well, and eventually solve the quarterback position often turn things around surprisingly fast. The roster already has pieces worth building around. Now it's about putting the final pieces together. That's the challenge facing Cleveland over the next 2 seasons. Perhaps the most interesting takeaway from the discussion is this. Fans can absolutely be optimistic. There's nothing wrong with believing your team is headed in the right direction. But optimism should be balanced with honesty. Right now, there are still legitimate questions. Can the quarterback room exceed expectations? Can the offensive line come together? Can the young talent develop quickly enough? Those questions won't be answered on social media. They'll be answered on the field. And until then, every prediction remains just that, a prediction. So where does that leave the Cleveland Browns? Some fans see another rebuilding year. Others believe this roster is quietly preparing for a breakthrough. The truth probably falls somewhere in the middle. Training camp has shown encouraging signs. Young players are developing. Coaches are carefully evaluating every detail. But the biggest question still hasn't been answered. Who will become the quarterback that finally changes the direction of this franchise? If the Browns solve that puzzle, this team could look completely different in just a few years. And that's exactly why every practice, every meeting, every preseason snap, and every decision made during training camp matters. Because the future of the Cleveland Browns isn't being built in one game. It's being built one day at a time.